With that, we come to the end of our screening. And the only word I have to say is wow. The film truly is a masterpiece, undoubtedly a thought provoking piece of genius. I think all of us have various thoughts and questions running through our minds. I know I do. So I request our audience, in the meantime, to drop any questions that they might have in the chat box below. Me and my co moderator would try our best to forward them to our expert. I welcome our expert Prabhoji once again. Welcome, sir. With your permission, I will now get around the Q&A session of this event. So you are on mute, sir.
Now, are you?
Yes, that's better.
Okay. Okay. So, yes, let us begin with the history of 20th century and bring it all the way into our own lives in the 21st century. That's one. Second is to think of Gandhi writing a letter to Hitler in 1938, suggesting to him that make love, not war. It's like the young American boys and girls walking the streets of Washington, saying, stop the war in Vietnam. And hopefully it is the same. Listen, listen, listen. Listen to that remarkable, last, inspiring, sentimental, romantic, dream-like speech. I want to free.
So your voice is breaking. Maybe you could move closer to the mic or check the internet connection. Can you hear me, sir?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, now it's much better. No, sir, not audible. So it's not audible. Maybe we could start with some of the questions and you could try to answer them if your internet permits. So the first question that I was thinking about is how the characters are really so much the representation of the accurate thing. So how accurate do you think that these characters are? Excuse me.
Hi, Anushka, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I guess Sir just left the meeting due to some internet connections. So let's just wait for a while he rejoins.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. I would request the audience to kindly bear with us. There's some internet connection with our expert, and we would be resuming our event soon enough. We apologize for the inconvenience caused. We have 5 minutes before our next event is to begin. We will wait for 5 minutes for our expert, and then we'll move on with the event.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Now it's
Our
back.
expert has joined again. We welcome you, sir, and we would begin with the questions. So the first thing that I wanted to put out was that how far do you think that the representation of these characters in real life are accurate?
You know, they don't have to be accurate. That's the first thing we should understand about cinema, because even the best of the documentaries don't.
You're not audible, sir.
That's okay. They are, of course, full of satiric and ironic references to both the leaders. We have Mussolini, Goebbels, and Goring, and Hitler, and a Jewish barber in the ghettos. So all of them, in a very sensitive and very playful way, represent the extremely peculiar characters that all of them are. You know, that each one of them have a terrible background of historical. You know, so the very first sequence of the film is about the First World War, and we have, you know, the soldier, which is Adolf Hitler also fought for in the First World War. But the caricature that we see of a soldier who saved the life of a German colonel, later on they meet, as you see that. But we can see that his way of fighting a war is exceptionally strange and unusual, unlike a very disciplined way army, you know, is taught to fight the war. So that is where it begins, the caricature. And caricature sometimes tell us more about the person than the actual resemblances. A photograph of Hitler would tell us very little, but when a Chaplin plays that role, it gives us greater insight into the very, very damaged psyche of a man who fought the First World War, went on to become the leader, and just didn't have any clue as to what he was doing, but he was still an extremely demonic person. So we get through their caricatures and through their all kind of extraordinarily laughable incidents, we get greater insight into them than the actual representation, something like that.
Yes, sir, I agree with you. Due to time constraints, we will put one more question and then we have to move forward.
Yes,
so
sure.
The next question, I, being a literature student, I have known that cinema is known to mirror society. So how significant was this film to extend consciousness about the war that was to take place in that time?
Well, I think Chaplin was fully aware of what was going on in various parts of Europe, and particularly in Germany, though he didn't know the extent to which Nazi party was going to get involved in the complete, genocide of the Jewish race and all kind of terrorist ways by which they function and the way they attack the neighboring nations and he didn't have great clarity about it, but he knew that Nazi party and the whole question of fascism and dictatorship in Europe is a question that should haunt every part of the world. And in that sense, even in 21st century, the film is speaking to us straight away about the notion of fascism. And one thing it teaches us is that in spite of that, we have to take the risk and speak our mind. So in 1940, he makes the film against the warnings by Britain and Europe, and it was banned in Germany till 1957. It was banned till 1975, and other parts of Europe and even US and Britain were not clear if they would show the film. And later on, he was accused of being a communist and haunted by the American government. So he was ready to take risk. So what we learned from Chaplin's Great Dictator is that you have to have the courage to speak and take up Hitler, which, confront him, which no other leaders of the America and Europe could do. They just let him happen. So he is the best journal of the army, called the Human Army, outside the army, who spoke and took up arms against Hitler, the arms of cinema. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have a better way to interact the next time.
Sure.
I'm afraid time is up this
No
day.
problem. I'm relaxed.
I
Thank
don't
you
want
very
to
much.
overburden you.
Thank you. Well done. Well done. Enjoy yourself.
Thank you, sir. Well, I believe that leaves us with the last round of this event, the vote of thanks. I, on behalf of Speak McKay, the entire team, my audience, and my co-moderator, and on my own behalf, extend a hearty vote of thanks to Sir Prabodh Parikh for joining us this evening. I also extend my thanks to every single one of you for your enormous cooperation in the organization and the successful execution of this event. I wish you all a wonderful evening ahead. Namaskar.
Yes,